Hey everybody, and welcome to Brad Carroll's Game Day. There's a lot of games we're going to pick today. A lot of them have everything to do with offense, as in scoring a lot of points. But Joe Fortunato, he knows a different kind of offense, and that's being offensive. His picks all year, downright offensive. Joe, why do you stink so bad?
I think I'm kind of learning on the fly, but we had a lot of the same picks last week, so I don't know what that says about me or you.
Either you got a hold of my email prior, or there's some kind of collusion going on between the two of us. You know that's not true. We all want Joe to fail. We all know it. Either one, he's going to be back here soon. Joe, can you promise the people out there at least one correct pick?
I can promise people more than one correct pick.
This is Brad Carroll's Game Day. We're going to kick things off with a big matchup in the Sugar Bowl. Michigan taking on Virginia Tech. This game all about defense, believe it or not. A little surprising for Michigan considering they were 110th in the country last year. This year they're 18th. Michigan, however, they do have a good offense to go with that good defense.
And that might end up being the difference because if you think about it, both teams are only allowing 17 points a game this season. Michigan is scoring 34 points a game. Virginia Tech is only scoring 28. That might be the difference in this one.
This is going to be Virginia Tech's biggest opponent of the season. Michigan's the best team they're going to play. Virginia Tech, they went in with all the hype in the ACC championship game. They got beat down by Clemson for the second time. I don't even know why they're in this game. There's a lot of other teams that should have been picked ahead of Virginia Tech, but they're here. Can they beat Michigan?
You know, it depends on if they can get their running game going. We saw in the ACC championship game against Clemson, the running game didn't work. That was all they continued to do because it was all they could do. They got shut down. They got obliterated in that game. That's why I think Michigan, with the ramped-up defense, is going to be able to shut down the Hokies, and they're going to win this one 24-21.
Yeah, Michigan, they're -2.5 in this game, led by Denard Robinson. They're going to win it 31-24. We talked about offense at the beginning of the show. This is one of those games that could feature a lot of scoring. West Virginia goes against Clemson. It's going to be an interesting matchup. Clemson won the ACC championship by beating Virginia Tech. West Virginia is the Big East champion. Don't really know how that's going to go. The Big East very down this year, but the ACC down as well.
Yeah, and two evenly matched teams. Both defenses are allowing 26 points a game. Both offenses are scoring around 34 points a game. The difference is going to be which team maybe comes out a little bit more motivated. Remember, West Virginia kind of backed into this Big East championship. Clemson annihilated Virginia Tech to get here. So Clemson on the up. West Virginia, they're sort of on the up, but Clemson has much more momentum.
Clemson lost a lot of their momentum at the end of the season. They were actually a national title contender, fell off big time, starting with a loss to Georgia Tech. I don't know if they're going to bounce back big in this one. West Virginia, good offense, not as good as they have been in years past. Clemson, Taj Ward, Sammy Watkins, an explosive offense. Can they score enough to beat West Virginia?
Well, I think in a bowl game like this, where everything is so close, it really comes into how battle-tested your team is. In the case of this matchup, Clemson is an ACC champion. That's a better conference than the Big East. West Virginia didn't do great in the Big East. That's why I think Clemson is going to take this one 27-21.
Yeah, Clemson, they're -3 in this game. I got them winning at 37-30. Next up is the TicketCity Bowl featuring Penn State and Houston. Both teams, interesting seasons they've had. Penn State, we all know about the controversy that involved that program. Houston, they had a chance to go to a BCS game. They blew it in the Conference USA Championship, getting blown out by Southern Miss. But they have a lot of offense. Penn State has a lot of defense. Which one takes it?
This is an interesting matchup, mainly because it's two teams that really don't want to be here. Both of them had an opportunity to win their respective conferences. They didn't. Now they've ended up here. Kind of different sides of the spectrum. Houston, first in the country in total yards, passing yards, and points scored, but many of those yards were accumulated through the air. Penn State, number 5 pass defense in the country. Which one comes out on top?
Yeah, Penn State, we all know they can't score a lick, but they play defense. They play great defense. Houston, they got exposed a great deal against Southern Miss. Prior to that, they were just beating a bunch of cupcakes. They got undefeated. They got pretty high in the rankings. Came crumbling down in that game. It's going to be interesting. Case Keenum, very good quarterback. Can he get it done against Penn State?
Case Keenum is one of the most explosive quarterbacks in the country right now. The question is, though, he got knocked around a bit by Southern Miss. Penn State is better than Southern Miss. That's why I have Penn State pulling the upset on this one, winning 21-17.
Yeah, Penn State, they're 7-point underdogs in this one. I got them pulling the upset, 28-27. Next up is an absolutely huge battle in the Fiesta Bowl. Stanford takes on Oklahoma State. This game features two of the greatest offenses in the country, two of the greatest quarterbacks as well in Andrew Luck and Brandon Whedon. It's going to be an interesting game. But we all know what I think about Oklahoma State. They should be playing for a BCS National Championship. They're not. Can they get up to take on Stanford?
Well, this is a bowl game.
Well, guys, the real bowl season finally kicked off, and the two dim-witted hosts already start the bowl season 0-1 with the failed attempt to pick Cal to beat Texas. We all should know by now, but for you newcomers, I'll fill you in. Brad is absolutely horrible when it comes to picking bowl games, and he's already kept that trend going with his loss in the Holiday Bowl. Joe, on the other hand, he picked Oklahoma and Iowa to end in a tie. If you add the spread to it, I'll chalk that up to being a rookie mistake, but really the choice is clear. Stick with me and you win. Now on to my picks. Penn State +7, Michigan State +3.5, South Carolina -2.5, Ohio State +1.5, Oregon -6.5, Michigan -2.5, Clemson -3, and my game of the week. Oklahoma State, who should be playing in the national championship game, takes on Stanford in the Fiesta Bowl. A lot of great bowl matchups to choose from, but with two explosive offenses led by Brandon Weeden and Andrew Luck, how could you not think this game won't be an instant classic? Oklahoma State will be too much for Stanford to handle in the end, winning it 32-28.
Well, there he goes. He brought up your tie pick. I haven't seen that yet on the show. We've been doing this for 2 seasons now. That's a first.
I am so confident that that game is going to end in a tie with the spread that I had to pick it for the people. That's not really a great thing for, trust me, but it's going to happen.
Well, if it does happen, we'll give you some props. If it doesn't happen, actually, I'm still going to bury you in next week's show. It's only the thing that we can do in that case. But this game's a great one. He talked about it. It's going to be a classic, I think.
This is the bowl game between the could-have-beens, should-have-beens. These are two teams that really could have vied for a national championship game if they didn't stumble along the way. You're looking at two of the premier quarterbacks in the country, and you're looking at two of the premier offenses in the country, which means that defense, which neither of these teams are really known for, is what's going to separate the two teams on the field.
Yeah, Oklahoma State came up with a big defensive effort against Oklahoma in the season finale. They blew Oklahoma out of the water. Maybe they thought that that would have catapulted them to the national championship. Didn't work. Alabama goes instead. Oklahoma State, can they get up to play this game? They should. They want to prove everyone wrong. Who knows? Maybe get a couple of votes along the way. Maybe make for a split national championship in the AP poll. It's very possible. Can they get it done against a very good Stanford offense?
From what we've seen this year from Oklahoma State, you have to give them the vote of confidence here. Yeah, Stanford's playing well this year as well. Oklahoma State is just a better team. We talked about it. They should be in the national championship game. That's why I think that Oklahoma State is going to take this one 48-42.
Yeah, Oklahoma State, they're -3.5 in this game. They win it 38-28. Next up is the Capital One Bowl featuring Nebraska taking on South Carolina. South Carolina has a chance in this game, if they win, to become the winningest team in program history. You know they're going to want to get that. Nebraska, they struggled a bit against good defenses. South Carolina, 4th best in the country. Can they get it done against Nebraska?
Well, that's going to be the question today, especially when you're talking about Taylor Martinez, who's a dual-threat quarterback. But if you shut him down, you're basically shutting down the Cornhuskers offense. Steve Spurrier knows what he's doing. He's a very good coach. He gets his guys up for big games. This is an opportunity for South Carolina to really prove that this is a team that's different from the teams they've had in the past. Big game, big stage. This is where he steps up big.
Yeah, Nebraska also on offense. Rex Burkhead, very good running back. He could be a very key player in this one. You talked about Taylor Martinez. If he gets shut down and they go to Burkhead, he could have a big game, carry Nebraska to victory. Nebraska, they don't play well this season against big teams. Got a big game here.
Yeah, and the big question here is both teams are scoring about 30 points a game on offense. South Carolina only giving up 18 points, Nebraska giving up 22. But in my eyes, the numbers are much, much better for South Carolina because they're playing in the SEC. That's why I see South Carolina taking this game 21-17.
Yeah, South Carolina, they're -2.5 in this game. I got them winning it 24-21. We talked a lot about offense at the beginning of the show. Well, this one, not so much. This one's going to be featuring two teams that can't score all that much. The Gator Bowl, Ohio State, Florida. A lot of defense, not a lot of offense, but there's going to be one man looming over this game, Urban Meyer. Last coach for Florida. Now he's going to coach Ohio State next season. Interesting matchup. Not a lot of scoring. What's going to happen?
No, these might be two of the most evenly matched teams we've had thus far. They're both 6-6. They're both scoring 25 points a game, and they're both allowing 20 points a game. The big question here is going to be motivation, like we've talked about. Ohio State kind of on the up a little bit. They're not going to a bowl game next year. Florida, I don't know if there's a light at the end of the tunnel for them right now. So which team steps up? That's the big question.
Yeah, Florida's lost 6 of their last 8 games. That's not good. Ohio State, they're banned from postseason play next year. That could get them motivated to play this one. There's not going to be an end of the road next year. Got to win this one. Can they get it done?
I think they can. Ohio State has gotten it done. They don't have a 1,000-yard offensive player on this team, and yet they're still 6-6. Florida's a couple of playmakers, but I really see Ohio State stepping up in the Urban Meyer Bowl, and I think they're going to take this one 28-24.
24. Ohio State, they're plus 1.5 in this game. They win it 23-20. Hey, Joe, you remember when Outback Steakhouse was actually a good restaurant?
Yeah, it was like a couple of years.
A couple of years? It was like 10 years ago. Nobody cares about Outback Steakhouse anymore. It's terrible. I ate there a little while ago. Worst food ever. Outback. Get back on track. You stink.
Well, at least we have the Outback Bowl, which is hopefully going to be back on track as well.
It's a little bit better because we got the appetizer known as Michigan State, Georgia, two teams that lost their conference championship games, but they're going to want to win this game especially. Two pretty good quarterbacks in this game. They can lead their offense to some points in this one. Who takes it?
Just like the Penn State-Houston game. This is a matchup between two teams that really don't want to be here. They had an opportunity to win their conferences. They both didn't. Both teams boast top 5 in the country defenses for total defense. Both teams are allowing around 20 points a game. This is going to be a defensive matchup from start to finish. Yeah, I think when you talk defense, you got to talk quarterback. Kirk Cousins from Michigan State, I think, is a little bit better than Aaron Murray at Georgia. I think that carries them to a victory here. What do you say? I'm going to actually think that Georgia, they're coming off that huge loss to LSU, but they did very well in the SEC this year. It's a better conference than the one that Michigan State plays in, which is the Big Ten. I'm really feeling Georgia right now to bounce back, and I think they're going to win this one 24-17. Yeah, Georgia, they surprised a lot of people this year, me included, but Michigan State plus 3.5, they win it 28-24. There's no better way to wrap up this episode of Brad Carroll's Game Day than to talk about the Rose Bowl, and this matchup features two great teams, Wisconsin taking on Oregon, two offenses that can easily put up 50 points a game. Who knows, this game could end in the 50s as well. Russell Wilson, great quarterback for Wisconsin, but two running backs could steal the show. Yeah, this is really a matchup between two teams who boast some of the best players in the country. You're looking at Darren Thomas for Oregon, then you're looking at Russell Wilson for Wisconsin, and the running back side of things, Monty Ball and Michael James. It doesn't get much better than these four guys, and these are two high-powered offense. It's like we talked about before. This game may get settled on the defensive side of the football, something that neither team is really known for right now. One or two stops could be all it takes because those offenses are going to go up and down the field, scoring points at will. We talked about offense all day long. This one could be the greatest one of them all. This one has a chance to be 100 points scored in this game, but what do you got? I think that Oregon has way too many playmakers in this game. I think it's going to be too much for Wisconsin to handle. That's why I think Oregon is going to take this one 48-38. Yeah, you know what? Oregon, they're minus 6.5 in this game. They're going to win it. They win it 49-42. All hail the Ducks. For Joe Fortunato over here, for the evil one, Craig Carroll, for Evan Macy behind the camera, I'm Brad Carroll. We'll see you guys for our very special BCS National Championship Special next week.